The Bible teaches a three-tiered cosmological model. There are the heavenly places, including heaven. There is the earth, and there is the underworld, known as Hades. There are three distinct areas or compartments in Hades. On one side, you have paradise, also known as Abraham's bosom. On the other side, you have death or the grave. And in between them is this place known as the abyss, this pit, this hole, this gap, also called the bottomless pit here in Revelation. If a person dies rejecting God, their spirit goes to the death side of Hades. It's a place of torment and suffering where they await the great white throne judgment of Revelation chapter 20, verses 11 to 15. If a person died with their faith in God before Jesus died on the cross, they would go to the paradise side of Hades to await salvation. It was a place of rest and comfort, but it was not a place of full joy because Jesus was not there. Now, why did they have to wait for salvation? Why couldn't they go straight to heaven? Because Jesus had not yet paid for their sin with his blood and life on the cross. When Jesus died, he descended with the keys of Hades and death and led all those who were awaiting salvation up to heaven in victory. From that moment on, the paradise side of Hades has been empty, and it always will be. The death side of Hades continues to grow as all who reject God arrive there following the end of their earthly lives, where they await their final judgment. Now, as I said, between the paradise and death sides of Hades, there is this great gulf that the Bible says no one can cross, known as the abyss or the bottomless pit. The abyss is a place of torment where God imprisons demonic entities who have done things so wicked they cannot be allowed to remain free, even in our age of evil. We know that their number includes the fallen angels who participated in the abomination of Genesis 6 that produced the Nephilim. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I put another link on your outline so that you can go and listen to our study on Genesis 6, where I get into that in detail. Do you remember the story of the demon-possessed man in Gadara and his encounter with Jesus? Jesus confronts two men who are possessed by thousands of demons. A legion is what they're called. And if you're not familiar with the text I'm talking about, it's a great bedtime story for the kids. I'm just kidding. There are a few details in that interaction that I'd like to draw your attention to. In Luke chapter 8, verse 28, we read, "When he, the demon-possessed man, saw Jesus, he cried out, fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, 'What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me.' So the demons inside this man speak with one voice, and they recognize who Jesus is. But as we just said, they're demons. So what could Jesus possibly do that would torment them? Well, a few verses later in verse 31, we find the answer. It says, "And they begged him that he would not command them to go out into the abyss." The Greek word for abyss is once again abyssos, the same word used in Revelation chapter 9, verse 1 for bottomless pit. It's the same place we're talking about. The demons Jesus encountered during his earthly ministry knew who he was, and when Matthew records the same story, he adds a little more detail regarding the protestations of these demons. They say, "Have you come here to torment us before the time?" Before the time? These demons were also aware that they had a future destiny of destruction and that Jesus had authority over them. And if you're familiar with the story, you'll know that they ask Jesus to let them go into something else. They know Jesus is going to cast them out of this man. They don't want to be sent to the abyss, though. They're seeking some other living thing they can go into. And so Jesus says, you can go into the pigs. And they do. They know that their future is in the abyss, and they beg Jesus not to send them there early, because apparently it's so awful that even demons are terrified to be confined there. As I mentioned earlier, in Revelation 20, verses 1 through 3, we learn that Satan himself will be imprisoned in the abyss. Let me read it to you. It says, "Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold of the dragon," and just in case we're confused about who the dragon is, Jesus spells it out for us, "that serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years, and he cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal on him, so that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years were finished." So make a note of this. According to the scriptures, the bottomless pit, or the abyss, is a place of torment where God imprisons demonic entities for egregious offenses. The bottomless pit, or the abyss, is a place of torment where God imprisons demonic entities for egregious offenses. The demonic entities that are currently in the abyss right now are worse than anything we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And they have been imprisoned and tormented for a long, long time. They're not going to be happy when they get out. And when they do, it's going to be hell on earth.